Okay, fair warning, this is a theory video. However, we do have a lot of evidence from the trailers. So, in the trailers, we constantly see this mental hospital or mental health facility, and the guesswork is one of the killers. I think there are going to be three killers, but one of the killers is clearly like this mental patient, escape, and is out to kill Sydney. There you go. So, one main killer, definitely crazy. I would assume the obvious. This is going to be the Stu lookalike. I don't think it's Stu. It's a Stu lookalike, and that is who's going to be tormenting Sydney and the daughter for most of the film. However, I've speculated that basically Kevin is drawing upon an earlier Halloween script. I've already done a whole video on that. You can go to that for more details. I'm going to be very short and simple. I have read the script, so I'll do a future video just on the Halloween angle. But the basic idea, which is very similar to this, is that for a lot of that Halloween film, again, Kevin didn't write it, but that was the film that they were going to go with before he did H2O. So it's basically a prototype for H2O. The idea is that the main villain is not Michael Myers. Michael Myers is in the film basically being Hannibal Lecter. He's locked up, he has a leather mask, and he fakes his death or is dead and resurrects himself. And he sacrifices himself at the end. And to be fair, it's not exactly one-to-one. There, he's mentally disturbed, which is true. The big twist is he's a magician who's obsessed with Michael, and his home has a shrine to Michael, has been following the killings, obsessed with Michael, and then saves Michael at the end, and the police shoot, quote, fake Michael, thinking that's Michael. It's not him. Michael Myers lives on to become, more evil, and he dies and says, as a magician, he made, quote, Michael Myers disappear. For legal reasons, they can't copy the whole script, but there's no doubt he's well aware of the script and probably read it very quickly back in the day because this is a very small script. All right, so how does this make sense with Scream 7? Well, I'm guessworking the obvious. So what they're going to try to do is a kind of Hannibal Lecter, but now with a Scream setting. So they could go either two routes, because the thing is that the fake Michael, called Kane, is helping the police, cleverly misleading them. So I'm guessing they're going to keep that aspect. So we're going to see some killings. It can't be the mental guy because he's talking to Sydney. The police are there. So some killings will be by Jessica. But then other killings will be by this guy. And Jessica can say, no, you see me, right? So Jessica and Hannibal Lecter will basically go back and forth, and Sydney will be very, very confused. And for most of the film, we think it's Stu, and it's not Stu, it's Hannibal Lecter and Jessica, and they will be doing most of the killings, making Sydney go crazy, so on and so forth. Okay, so if that's the story, Sons of the Lambs work because Hannibal Lecter was introduced in the 1980s, right? So when you see Sons of the Lambs, the character had already been established by a prior movie as well as the novels. Here we're just going to plunge head first, and here's Hannibal, here's Jessica, maybe Stu's sister, maybe not Stu's sister. That's where we're starting off. Problem is, the Michael film actually was more clever, right? Because we have Michael Myers. We don't know the new Hannibal, but we do know Michael Myers. But the Scream films are infamous that the new killer is a new killer. We always start with a new killer. And to my knowledge, they're not going to break that rule. It is a new killer. These are new killers. So you have to establish those killers in Scream 7, right? You can't. So you don't know who Kane is. I don't know who Kane is, but we know who Michael is. So we have enough with Michael to use with the new Hannibal Lecter. It is a little bit of a trick, no doubt about that, because really, now we have Hannibal and Michael working together. Yeah, it's a little silly, but the point is, it's plausible. It's plausible this version of Hannibal Lecter wants to work with Michael because Michael has done all these killings. He's famous enough. So you can kind of piece it together. However, in this one, the focus is on Sydney. Sydney's the famous one. So now you got to do two things: establish, quote, the new Michael Myers and establish a new Hannibal Lecter. And that's a lot for one film. And we have Sydney and we have the daughter. So it's a lot to establish in one film. That is a lot. And I don't think they're going to pull it off. Now, that said, if they're using this script from Halloween, I mean, you can do it, but you got to be very, very careful. Like, that script is very, very explicit about Silence of the Lambs, right? Silence of the Lambs is being symbolized very explicitly. They even have Michael with a muzzle. I'm not joking with you. They were going to have Michael Myers with the muzzle. Why? Because Michael, wait for it, bites off fingers. I know, it's pretty silly. It's pretty silly. But silly or not, you are signaling to the audience, okay, this is a Hannibal movie in disguise. And there you go. And with Silence of the Lambs, when you see the trailer now, they're pretty open. Yep, it's Hannibal. Hannibal's in this movie. I think you're better off just being explicit about it. But obviously, Scream films are infamous for trying to hide the killer. So it doesn't quite work with the Scream series. It's a little difficult to pull off. That is part of the Scream mythos now. And a lot of people didn't like Scream 6, and I agree that they guessed the killer really early on. Now, I was not as able to guess it early. However, it didn't matter. It didn't matter because it turned out, oh, it's a group of Ghostface working together. Okay? But then at the very end, they are not powerful at all. So they're very, very powerful at the very beginning and in the middle. And at the end, they're kind of pathetic. So now you're going to try to do Hannibal Lecter, Michael Myers. You're going to pump them up. There's going to be a big body count. But then at the end, they're pathetic. But in this one, Michael survives. He gets off. He escapes. That's how Michael Myers works. Now, is that a good idea? Maybe, maybe not. But Michael surviving, what? Entire police just shooting at him? Fake Michael, real Michael? Yeah, it's a little silly, but we can believe that. But Scream doesn't have Michael Myers. So it's going to be tricky either way. Either real fake Michael, real fake Hannibal. Okay, one of them gets killed, one of them escapes. Why? Well, it's Michael Myers. And again, I think that's going to be very jarring for the audience. Like, the ghost faces are pretty ridiculous, but they are mortal. They are human. So whichever way they go, it's going to be very polarizing. If they bring back Stu just to kill him off again, a lot of people are like, I don't want to see that. If it's a fake Stu, then people are like, who cares? And if fake Stu is Hannibal Lecter, then you're like, okay, that's fine, but he was defeated way too easily, right? The whole point of Michael Myers and Hannibal Lecter is they are formidable. These are not guys who you can easily kill or capture. That's their whole point. It's really hard to capture Hannibal and or Michael, and it's very hard to keep them captured and or kill them. They're very tough customers. So you've got to explain to us first who these characters are and then defeat them really easily. And that's going to be very, very disappointing, in my humble opinion.